Hey Alyssa, so today we're going to be drawing your kitchen sage or garden sage plant. So what Miss Valerie did was take your original photo and then she cropped it so that we don't have as much detail going around and that we can just focus on your plant. So first thing you want to do before we even start drawing at all is it's a good idea for you to go online and look up some plant examples or also look up examples from other artists. That way you can see how they do it, and that's a really great tool when you're ever trying to draw anything, and you're not sure how to go about it. So the first thing you should do is I want you to practice before you start. So you can draw about, it's a good idea for you to draw about 2 to 3 flowers before you start. So of course, the first thing you want to do is start with shapes. You want to identify what it looks like, like that's what we're always talking about in class. By doing that, it makes things easier for you. So you want to start with the shape and you want to find a way to break it down. So if we're looking at the shape, we want to start with drawing kind of a really large sideways, think of it like a happy face or a sideways mountain. So you want to start with that. And then first thing I can see is the flower kind of comes out of almost like a little V-shaped basket or heart-shaped basket. So I'm going to draw that little cutoff first. And then I'm going to go in and try to figure out how the flower looks like. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So, I'm still not thinking about any details yet. I'm going to do my best to draw the one flower that we're focusing on today. And then I'm going to go in and start drawing the shape of the part that it's coming out of too. So, all right, so we kind of have that going on now. So I'm just tightening up my lines a little bit so you're able to see all that. And then slowly I'm going in and fixing my shape so it looks a little bit more like what we see in our image. And there's our image right there. So I'm just going around now. Now that I have the general shape, I'm going in and doing the details now. I'm trying to see, what looks weird, what can I change? And also, before I even get there, like I said, I'm trying to make sure that my, most important shapes are done first. So I'm getting all my petals in for my flower. And then now I can go ahead and see if, anything needs to be erased, anything needs to be changed. And then now, we have a shape that looks a lot more like our flower. And then, like I said, I'm just going in to make sure our proportions look a little more correct. And then all I'm doing now is details. So if we look at the base of the flower, we see some long lines. And they all kind of meet at the base of the flower, like the edge of the flower. And then I'm looking for their details. Like, I think the shape of my flower is, the actual flower is a little off, so I'm going to go in and change that. So once you're done with the drawing part and we're ready to move on to our color pencils, you want to start by going and picking out whatever colors you have that will match your image the closest. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm pulling out all my pencils. And this way, you're able to test your colors before they go onto your paper. And if you don't like them, this saves you from coloring with a color you dislike, you don't like. So now that I have all my colors, the first thing I want to do is find a color that matches your base color, the color that fills most of your shapes the best. You want to start with that color first. And you want to start by kind of outlining your image before you do any color at all. So I'm going to start with the base of our flower first. I'm going to go and outline that. And then once I start coloring, you also want to think about what direction you want to start coloring in. And you want to try your best to stay in one direction, because when you color, you can kind of see your pencil lines. So I'm choosing to color sideways, left to right instead of up and down. Because if you look at your flower, you can see, all these lines coming out of the flower. So I'm following in the same direction so that, once you do the details, it won't look weird. So I'm going to color sideways. And I'm going to start with a light layer. So I'm not going to worry, about coloring too dark yet. I just want to get some color on the paper first. And then once I have that down, I can go and pick out a color for our flower. So I'm testing it, and I'm happy with that color. So I'm going to go and outline. I'm going to go and outline my flower. And then same thing, I'm going to start with a really light color of that first before I move on to any details. And you can do that too, if you have limited color pencils, this gives you a difference in color, even if you're only using one color. If you have a bunch of different purples and lavenders, that's awesome, but in case you don't, this saves you from, needing a bunch of colors. So now I'm going to go and color in the darkest area because, I know it's darker and I'm able to use a darker shade. And I'm coloring left to right, right to left, just like I was doing with the base of the flower. And then, once you kind of have down the right amount of color, you can start looking for any details. In this image, I see some brown in addition to the green that's there. So I'm putting in a little bit more color. And I'm also starting to add some of that line detail that I see in the base of the flower. So now I can go a little darker now that I have an idea of what I want to do. So I'm just darkening up my colors now and giving it a little more detail, a little more depth. And that'll help your flower too to look a little more realistic. It helps it to pop off the page. And like I've been saying, the harder you press a little more, the more color you get, and it makes your colors less grainy. So there you go. That's a good start to how you can use your color pencils. All right, thank you.